Clara Hayes and I grew up in the same orbit, our families intertwined, but a real connection between us never quite formed. While I spent the last few years studying overseas, our parents, in their infinite wisdom, decided to arrange our engagement without my input. The moment I got the news, I was on the next flight back to the United States, determined to put a stop to the whole ridiculous affair. I went straight from the airport to her office building, and when I saw her standing there with a polished, clean-cut young man, a wave of relief washed over me. "I knew you weren't on board with this either," I said, getting straight to the point. "How about we just go to our families together and call this thing off?" Clara's expression tightened, and she gritted her teeth so hard I was half afraid they might crack under the pressure. Her voice was low and strained. "Who did you just say I'm not on board with?" On the flight over, I had practically worn out my phone's battery arguing with my dad. "Seriously, you arrange my engagement while I'm on another continent? Why didn't you just sign the marriage certificate for me while you were at it? It's always Clara this, Clara that. Why don't you just adopt her, and I can go find a nice box to live in on the street? Who told you we were secretly in a relationship? We barely exchange 2 words when we see each other. I said I wanted to marry her when I was a kid? Dad, I was a kid. I thought she was pretty. That was the extent of it. We don't even have each other's phone numbers. Why is that so hard to believe?" After what felt like hours of repeating myself, I realized it was a lost cause. My father was as stubborn as a rock, convinced that I had been in a secret relationship with Clara, cruelly dumped her, and then fled the country to escape the consequences. I argued until my throat was raw, but in the end, he just hung up on me. I never even got the chance to tell him I was already back. Fortunately, I managed to get in touch with my old group of friends for an emergency session. When they heard I was looking for Clara, they gave me a merciless ribbing for a while, but eventually Finn sent me the address of her company. Just before we hung up, he hesitated. "Hey man," he started. "I heard there's some guy who's been around Clara a lot lately." I was dragging my suitcase down the sidewalk, simultaneously trying to devour a hot dog from a street vendor. Having been deprived of proper American junk food for so long, I was in absolute bliss. "Yeah? So what?" "Just make sure you two talk things out properly. Don't let some other guy get in the way and mess things up." Finn rushed out the words and ended the call before I could get another word in, leaving me standing there dumbfounded with a mouthful of food. Seriously? There was nothing to mess up. If our families weren't so deeply enmeshed, I probably wouldn't even admit that we knew each other. I eventually found Clara's company. Finn had mentioned that she was always good to the guys we grew up with, and that usually you could just give your name at the front desk, and they would send you right up. So, with that in mind, I walked confidently to the reception desk. "Hi, I'm here to see your CEO, Clara Hayes. My name is Leo Vance." The receptionist gave me a dismissive look from head to toe, then turned back to her coworker as if I didn't exist. "Did you hear Ms. Hayes's family set her up with a fiancé? I heard he's just some spoiled, do-nothing rich kid. There's no way she'd be interested in a pretty boy like that." I waited a moment before trying again, my patience wearing thin. "I'm looking for Clara Hayes. Could you please tell me where her office is?" "Another shameless parasite trying to use someone else's name to get in?" one of them scoffed. "Do you really think we haven't seen photos of Leo Vance?" "Exactly," the other chimed in. "They're all just trying to latch onto Clara Hayes' success." I couldn't help but let out a small laugh. I crossed my arms and leaned against the desk, deciding to listen in. "If you ask me," the first one continued in a hushed tone, "Julian is the one for her. Every time I see him with Ms. Hayes, they just look so perfect together." "Totally. I think Julian and Ms. Hayes are the ideal couple. I'm their biggest supporter." Julian? I'd never heard that name in connection with Clara before. The gossiping receptionist noticed me out of the corner of her eye and leaned closer to her friend, lowering her voice even more. Julian was her junior in college. I heard they had a thing back then, and now Ms. Hayes brought him in as an intern, even breaking company policy to do it. Anyone with eyes can see she treats him special. I just wonder what kind of drama her fiancé is going to start. No one even knows where the guy is, but he had his family lock down the engagement to trap her. The man has some serious nerve. I nodded thoughtfully. The rumors were surprisingly elaborate. "I'm right here," I said, walking over and tapping the shoulder of the woman who had just been speaking. She jumped in her seat. "Who are you?" I tilted my head and offered a polite smile. "Her fiancé." "What, does Clara Hayes have another one I don't know about?" Looking at their stunned and utterly confused faces, I pressed on. "So, can you tell me where Clara Hayes is now?" After a lengthy and frankly ridiculous process of proving my identity, the younger receptionist finally escorted me to the executive elevator. She was practically trembling the entire way up, barely able to walk in a straight line. When we reached the CEO's office door, she gave it a quick knock for me, and then scurried away, as if her life depended on it. Seriously, as if I would hold a grudge over something so trivial, so petty. Then again, I can be pretty petty myself. But I had more pressing matters to attend to. Seeing that the door was ajar, I pushed it open and walked in. The first thing I saw was a man in a crisp white shirt standing in front of Clara. As I entered, his long, slender fingers were just about to adjust the silk scarf at her collar. Our eyes met, and he froze. Almost simultaneously, the woman standing beside him turned around. A flicker of surprise crossed her features. "Who are you? How did you get into Clara's office? What is security even?" Julian's voice was cut off abruptly because Clara was already striding purposefully toward me, completely ignoring him. Just as she reached me, she suddenly opened her arms. For a split second, I thought she was going to embrace me. But then, her raised hands dropped suddenly, and she grabbed my hand as if it were a lifeline. Her eyes were a little red, and her voice trembled slightly. "Why are you back?" I had been away for 3 years. 3 years ago, Clara hadn't yet taken over this massive company. In my memory, she was always the queen of the campus, a stunningly beautiful girl with flawless features who turned heads everywhere she went. Now, she was more mature, her features more defined and refined. All the youthful innocence had been replaced by a sharp clarity and a profound beauty in her eyes that was even more captivating. I found myself mesmerized for a full 3 seconds before I managed to snap out of it and answer her. "Didn't the people downstairs tell you? I came to see you." Clara's voice was low. "More than one person has come here claiming to be you over the past 3 years. I thought..." Hearing that, I was instantly indignant. Someone had been impersonating me? The audacity. "Then you should have just told them to stop letting anyone named Leo Vance into the building." Clara's gaze remained fixed on me, making me feel a little self-conscious. "You must be Leo." A gentle, clear voice spoke from the side, finally drawing my attention. I got a proper look at Julian. He was just as the receptionists had described him. Handsome and clean-cut, the quintessential pretty boy. He had that fresh, energetic vibe of a recent college graduate. He was definitely the type women would swoon over. "Hey, I'm Leo Vance." Seeing the look of annoyance on his face at being interrupted, I asked apologetically, "Did I interrupt something? I forgot to knock?" Clara rushed to explain. "You didn't interrupt anything. There's nothing going on between Julian and me. We have a meeting soon, and he noticed my scarf was crooked. He was just about to fix it for me, but I moved away. Even if you hadn't come in, nothing would have happened between us." Her voice grew progressively quieter, making her sound almost defensive and wronged. I pursed my lips, thinking, so what exactly was their dynamic? As I was pondering, I heard Clara's tone turn sharp as she gave an order. "Julian, you can leave now, and cancel my next meeting." Julian sounded urgent. "Clara, but this meeting..." Meeting Clara's unyielding gaze, Julian clamped his mouth shut. He shot me, a resentful look, and practically spat the word out through his teeth. "Fine." After Julian had left, I made myself comfortable in Clara's large office chair. I'd sat in my dad's chair before, but this one was on another level of comfort. Clara stood nearby, watching me. "You just got back. Have you been home yet?" I looked up at her beautiful face, my resolve starting to waver. "Not yet. I came here to... Oh, right. These are for you." As if suddenly remembering something important, Clara cut me off. She naturally took my hand and led me to a large cabinet in the lounge area of her office. She opened it to reveal an impressive collection of the latest luxury watches and cufflinks, each one clearly worth a small fortune. "I got these for you. Over the last 3 years, whenever I was at an auction or traveling for business, I'd see something I thought you'd like, and I'd buy it." I did like them, but... "Clara, why are you being so nice to me all of a sudden?" I thought about it, and could only land on one possible explanation. "If this is about the engagement, you really don't have to do all this." "I do," Clara cut me off. I didn't quite catch what she said. "What?" "It's necessary. I need to prepare seriously," Clara repeated. "Actually, that's what I came to talk to you about," I said, launching into the speech I had prepared on the flight over. "I know you were forced into this engagement by your family, too. They always love making these kinds of decisions for us. How about we both have a talk with our parents and convince them to cancel it?" Clara looked at me as if she had misheard. "Cancel?" I nodded. "I know you don't like me. Since neither of us is into this, why should we force it?" Before I could finish my sentence, there was a sudden, sharp snap. Clara had broken a valuable fountain pen she was holding in her hand. She stood stiffly, struggling to keep her tone even. "Who did you say I don't like?" Clara's breathing was heavy, and for some reason her face was flushed a deep red. It was as if she was searching for something in my expression but couldn't find it, and she looked down, a wave of disappointment washing over her features. She pursed her lips, remaining silent. Her reaction was not at all what I had anticipated. I blinked, trying to keep my own expression neutral. "Don't you like Julian?" Clara's head shot up, and she answered rapidly, "I don't." "Huh?" So definitive. Her expression was grim, as if she were angry with someone. "Who's been spreading that rumor to you?" Remembering the scene downstairs, I didn't hesitate. "The people who just brought me up." Clara looked down, frowned, and sent a quick voice message. "Tell them they don't need to come in tomorrow." So this is what it feels like to be a tattletale. It was surprisingly satisfying. But if Clara didn't like Julian, how was I supposed to get out of this engagement? I reluctantly placed the watch she had pressed into my hand back into its case. Even if it's not Julian, you'll find someone you like eventually. By then, we'll be engaged, and everything will just be more complicated. "I won't." I was shocked. "Are you telling me you're going to waste your whole life on me?" Clara nodded. "Yeah." It took me a long moment to process what she had just said. A shadow fell over her clear, beautiful eyes. There was an indescribable loneliness about her, as if she had just had her heart broken. In a way, I suppose she had. She bit her lip, her voice hoarse. "If you really don't want to be engaged to me, we can cancel it." "Clara, It felt like anything I said at this point would be wrong. I was finally starting to understand why my dad had accused me of acting like some heartless guy who leads a girl on and then dumps her. If you like me, why didn't you ever say anything? Were you trying to be mysterious or something? We had barely spoken before I went abroad, and there had been zero contact during the 3 years I was gone. The room was suddenly filled with an awkward, heavy silence. "Clara, the partners are here." Julian knocked on the door, and receiving no response, came in on his own, carrying a stack of files. I let out a breath of relief. "Since you guys have work to do, I'll get out of your way," I said quickly. "Leo." As I pulled the office door open, Clara called out to me. I looked back, trying to act as if nothing had happened. "Yeah? What's up?" "Let's have dinner tonight," Clara added. "Our families will probably arrange it anyway, since you're back." I nodded. "Okay." With that, I bolted downstairs, making a clean escape. A bright pink Lamborghini was parked right at the company's entrance, ostentatious, just like its owner, who was standing in the middle of the entrance wearing a loud pink suit and waving at me with sunglasses on, despite the complete lack of sun. "Leo, over here!" Finn saw me and waved me over. I covered my face with my hand and quickly dove into his car. Seriously, sometimes I wish he would just pretend he didn't know me in public. Finn stomped on the gas. "So? You saw Clara. Did you feel your heart skip a beat?" As he spoke, he put on a cheesy song called "Reunited After a Long Time." The vibe was just too weird. I immediately hit the pause button. I sighed. My heart didn't skip a beat. It nearly stopped. Finn covered his mouth dramatically. "Wow, I had no idea Clara was that captivating." I was so annoyed I wanted to smack him. When I found out my parents arranged my engagement behind my back, I nearly had a heart attack. I never would have thought that a cliché plot from a terrible romance novel, an arranged marriage, would actually happen to me. Finn just scoffed. "Tisk, keep pretending. Since when have you, Leo Vance, ever been scared of anything? But for real, did Clara agree to call it off?" I shook my head again, exasperated. "Nope." Finn wasn't surprised. "I knew it. There's no way Clara would ever agree to break off the engagement with you. Did she get super mad when she heard you wanted to cancel and then confess her feelings for you?" My temples throbbed. I looked up at him, my face a perfect mask of confusion. "Huh? How did you know?" Finn teased. "Don't look at me like that. Anyone with eyes can see she's into you. You're the only one who's completely clueless." I stared out the window. "You guys are just making stuff up. You just love to create drama." Finn clicked his tongue. "You really don't like Clara? She's insanely beautiful, and you're a total sucker for a pretty face. You're telling me you're not moved at all?" Thinking about the face I had just seen, I felt an inexplicable flutter in my chest. Even if I'm always talking about wanting to date a beautiful woman, it can't be Clara. Finn snickered. "Oh, so she's special to you, huh?" I finally understood. Finn was setting a trap for me. The car stopped at a red light. I lunged at him. "I'm going to kill you." Finn drove me to a club he had booked for the night. He said he wanted to throw me a big welcome home party. But knowing these guys, I had no idea if it would be big. But I knew for sure they would spend hours interrogating me. It couldn't be helped. These wealthy kids have far too much time on their hands. The moment I pushed the door open to the private room, several pairs of mischievous eyes stared me down. The expected commentary began immediately. "Our boy Leo went to see Clara the second he got back? I heard Clara confessed to you. Can you two just skip the engagement and get married already?" I sighed and sat down among them. Feeling thirsty, I grabbed the nearest bottle of liquor and took a long drink. "You guys sure get your news fast." Sam slapped his thigh. She should have confessed ages ago. I can't believe she kept it in for so long, especially with a face like that, secretly crushing on someone. I know, right? Another friend added. Anytime there was news about Leo, she'd reply in a second, but she'd ignore everything else. And get this, you know when we flew out to see you? She came too. We didn't even know at first. We ran into her on the flight back and had to pry it out of her. That girl is so secretive. She made me promise not to tell you, said it would be a burden on you. I had no idea about any of this. Noah leaned in conspiratorially. So, did you say yes? I poured myself another drink and changed the subject. Weren't we having a welcome home party? I have to go home later tonight. Let's get this started and finished. After all these years, the only game they could ever think of was playing cards. The rules were simple. There were 9 cards, 8 of which formed 4 matching pairs. The players who drew a pair could ask each other for a gift, while the player with the odd card out had to complete a dare. I really liked the antique porcelain vase Noah had just posted on his social media feed. The game had just started when my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. When I answered, a cool female voice came through the line. "Where are you?" I had it on speaker. Finn and the others instinctively covered their mouths, listening in like a bunch of gossips. "At the riverfront bar with Finn and the guys." I thought I had lost track of time, but a glance at my watch showed it was only 9 o'clock. If I remembered correctly, Clara's office closed at 6. The voice on the other end sounded subdued. "Okay, I'm coming to get you." I looked at the unfinished game. "You really don't have to. I'll be there in 15 minutes. After she hung up, I asked meekly, "Is 15 minutes enough for one round?" I really wanted Noah's porcelain vase. The room erupted in laughter. Let's go. Let's play fast so we don't keep Ms. Hayes waiting." When the cards were flipped, as luck would have it, I was the odd one out. It was like they had planned it. They all started hooting and hollering. "Leo's the chosen one. It's your welcome home party. You have to be the star." I wanted to cry. My porcelain vase. "All right, here are the dare cards. Pick one." I forced a laugh and drew a card. French kiss someone in the room for 1 minute. Who came up with such a messed up dare? We all grew up together. You want me to pick one of you to kiss? How could I possibly do that? They didn't seem to see the problem. It doesn't have to be a girl, a guy works too. My eyes scanned over Finn and Noah. They shook their heads frantically. Just then, the door to the private room was pushed open from the outside. With a creak, the noise in the room died down. In the doorway stood a cool, elegant figure. Finn, who had been in peril just moments before, looked like he'd seen a savior. His eyes lit up. "Perfect timing." Clara, looking as aloof as ever, walked straight up to me. "Is it over?" "We're done." Before the words were fully out of my mouth, Noah cut me off. "Not yet. It's Leo's turn." I froze, realizing what they were plotting. Finn chimed in. "We're not letting him go until he does it. The game's not over. We're all adults here. Can't even handle a little kiss? A French kiss, by the way." Clara didn't react, seemingly waiting for my decision. Under their suggestive gazes, I self-consciously walked over to her. "Have you been drinking?" she asked, looking up at me. A pleasant, fragrant scent wafted from her. It was uniquely Clara's scent. I suddenly felt my face flush. I wasn't sure if it was the stuffy air or the alcohol kicking in. My voice grew quiet without me realizing it. "Just a little. Leo, you seemed pretty eager to play this game just a minute ago. Don't be a sore loser. We're adults. Just a kiss." Even though Clara and I were engaged, after what had happened at her office, I couldn't face her so calmly, let alone kiss her. What was this? Some kind of platonic kiss? I shot Finn and the others a look, telling them to shut up. Clara clearly wasn't the type to take a joke or be teased. "Are you willing?" I heard the woman's voice beside me and froze for half a second. "What?" Her beautiful voice was like a clear mountain spring. Clara spoke clearly and calmly. "To kiss." While my mind was blank and I was staring at her dumbly, she had already stood on her toes and gently cupped my face with one hand. Her thumb rested against the side of my lips. Her lips then gently touched her own finger. A perfect fake-out. She held the pose for about 5 seconds. When Clara pulled away, her ears were red. Her lips brushed against my cheek, sending a wave of heat through me. Then she naturally took my hand. "I'm taking him with me." I let Clara lead me out the door. Behind me, Finn and the others were roaring with laughter. "Did you see that? Leo's like some innocent choir boy in front of Ms. Hayes." "Totally. It's only around Clara that Leo seems to pull in his claws. When he's with us, he's a total hellraiser. You know, they're actually a really good match." I heard them and shot a glare back over my shoulder. The drive from the bar to my house was less than 2 miles. Clara ran several red lights. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes called several times, asking why we weren't home yet. By the time we arrived, the dining table was already laden with hot dishes. "Wow, it smells amazing. These are all my favorites." I abandoned Clara and sat down at the table, my eyes shining with delight. My dad sat down next to me. "Mrs. Hayes knew what you liked and hired a chef just for you. Go wash your hands first. Don't be so rude." "There's no need for Leo to be so formal," Mrs. Hayes said warmly. "If you like it, just tell me, and I'll have the chef make it again for you next time." "You're the best, Mrs. Hayes." Both families gradually took their seats at the table. They animatedly asked me about my time abroad. I'm a chatterbox. I can talk for over an hour by myself. I even had to tell them about the stray cat I had befriended who lived downstairs from my apartment. I finally stopped when my throat was completely dry. I looked down and saw my bowl was filled with all my favorite dishes. Who had put them there? "By the way," Mrs. Hayes began tentatively, "I was just talking to your father the other day. You two aren't getting any younger, and we were thinking that your relationship is pretty solid. I was wondering if Leo had any thoughts about becoming our son-in-law." I nearly choked on my food. I shot my dad a desperate look, begging him to help me out, but he deliberately avoided my gaze. I was practically jumping out of my seat with anxiety. Mrs. Hayes saw it all. "Actually, a few hours ago, Clara told us about your feelings on the matter." I looked in surprise at the woman eating silently beside me. I couldn't believe Clara had already spoken up for me. "We won't force you two to be together. After all, Clara has a very reserved personality. It would probably be pretty boring for you to be with her. Leo, Mrs. Hayes has always had a soft spot for me. If you don't like her, just tell me and we'll call off this engagement." I hesitated. It's not that I don't like her. It's just that these things take time. At least right now, I didn't know how I felt about Clara. There was a time, long ago, when I did have a secret crush on her. But that was just a fleeting teenage infatuation. Even though my family and the Hayeses were close, Clara and I had barely ever spoken. She could barely string a sentence together, while I could talk for an entire afternoon by myself. Even when I went to her house, she'd always be off by herself, reading a book. Occasionally, I'd try to start a conversation, but she would just give a mechanical response or two. Later, I heard she had skipped several grades. When I was in ninth grade, she was already a senior in high school. The next time I saw her, I was with my parents at her birthday party. One look, and I was completely stunned by her. Exquisite features, an extraordinary air about her, a true campus goddess. That day, a lot of rich young masters showed up at her party. They were all around our age. The way they looked at her was so blatant. I remember thinking, Clara sure attracts a lot of attention. I spent the entire party secretly watching her, unable to look at anyone else. I even sketched her in the drawing pad I carried with me. I figured since our families were friends, it wouldn't be too much to ask for her number. But before I could get close, I was pushed aside by a crowd of guys. Frustrated, I just left the party. I wasn't staying there. After I started college, I heard about Clara's life almost every day. The school forums were full of her achievements, what international awards she had won, when her next debate competition was, which classmate she was getting close to. It was like a celebrity fan site. There was even a dedicated fan club. I blocked all of it. Other than hearing people brag about her in front of me, I ignored everything else. One day, I went with Finn to the basketball court to watch a girl he liked play. Finn pointed to the most striking player on the court, number 17, and said to me with a sly grin, "You know who that is?" I took one look, thought she was beautiful, and blurted out, "My future wife." Finn burst out laughing. The guys next to us started laughing too. Another one of Clara's wannabe boyfriends, as if anyone can just win over Clara. That's hilarious. That girl was Clara? Finn gave me a meaningful look. Didn't expect that, did you? There's a reason Clara is so famous on the school forums. I glanced at her again, then stubbornly looked away. She's all right, I guess. Even after saying that, I still snuck a couple more glances. That girl hadn't changed a bit since we were kids. Still gorgeous. In fact, she had reached a whole new level of beauty. During halftime, a crowd of guys surrounded Clara. They were all there to offer her water and drinks. Some of them were pretty. Good-looking, too. Here, this is for you. Finn handed me a bottle of water and then rushed off to the girl he liked. The summer air was hot and sticky. I found a shady spot to sit and wait for Finn, twisting open the water bottle to take a sip. The next second, an elegant figure blocked my view. "Got any water?" I looked up. Clara was standing in front of me, her voice unreadable. "This one." I shook the half-empty bottle. Clara suddenly snatched the bottle from my hand and drank from the same spot I had. I had been about to say I'd already drunk from it. "Thanks." For some reason, the sunlight that day was exceptionally bright, and the sound of the cicadas was deafeningly loud. Everything that happened that day is still crystal clear in my mind. The topic of canceling the engagement never came up again, and no one pressured us to set a date. That night, Clara drove me and my parents home. When we got to our front door, we found a large box. "Did you guys buy something? Is it a present for me?" I had joked with them a few days ago that they'd better have a gift ready for me when I got back. My return was so sudden that they hadn't had time to prepare anything. I had been a little disappointed, but now, seeing this big box, I felt much better. For some reason, I had a feeling it was a surprise. "We didn't get you a present. Who sent it?" I leaned in to look at the sender's name. Clara Hayes. Then I looked back at the person in question. Her face was completely calm. The words, "I don't need credit," were practically written on her forehead. "Clara, we were just talking about this. You're not going to claim it?" Hearing her name, Clara walked over, expertly lifted the box, and carried it inside. "Yeah, I bought it for you." I opened it and saw it was Noah's antique porcelain vase. I was so thrilled I could barely form a coherent sentence. "How did you get this? It was Noah's. I've wanted it for so long. I was just trying to figure out how to ask him for it. After a moment, Clara nodded, not really answering the question. Mm-hmm. My dad laughed and patted Clara's shoulder. That's very thoughtful of you, Clara. I hugged my precious porcelain vase and quickly placed it in the most prominent spot in the living room. Isn't it beautiful? Clara looked at me. Beautiful. That night, I couldn't sleep. I called Noah in the middle of the night. Noah, how did Clara get that porcelain vase? You were practically begging me for it in my comments section. You think Clara didn't see that? I was confused. But I don't have Clara's number. Noah sent me a contact. Here, this one. Look familiar? I stared at the familiar blue and white profile picture. Holy crap. I do have her number. When did I add her? She never posts anything. I didn't even know she existed on here. You added her before you went abroad. Sam told you to add her burner account, but it was really just Clara's main account. You know how she is, always keeping things under wraps. She even managed to hide the fact she's been in love with you for years. Noah sighed. After that, Clara bought Sam a new car. When am I going to meet someone who's that nice to me and that beautiful? You lucky bastard, go enjoy it. Noah was exhausted and hung up, but I was more awake than ever. Clara had done so much in secret, and I had no idea about any of it. I spent a long time typing and deleting messages in the chat window. Why didn't you tell me you added me? Too aggressive. Delete. Hey, is this Clara? Too boring. Delete. After half an hour, the text box was still empty. Forget it. I tossed my phone aside. Lying in bed, for some reason, all I could picture was Clara's cool, hurt expression. I thought to myself, maybe, just maybe, I could try starting something new. The next morning, I was in a great mood and learned how to make soup from our housekeeper. I took it in a thermos to Clara's office. But it turned out Clara had left on a business trip early in the morning and probably wouldn't be back until the afternoon. I didn't have anything else to do, so I had Clara's assistant set me up in a lounge to wait. I'm not sure how long I was there, but I dozed off for a bit and was woken up by hushed voices outside. If it weren't for him, Ms. Hayes wouldn't have fired those long-time employees. I don't see what's so great about him. Julian, I think you're a much better fit for Ms. Hayes. How could I possibly be worthy of being Clara's boyfriend? Her boyfriend should be as outstanding as she is. Then it should definitely be you. Be more confident. You really are outstanding. I didn't know if they were playing dumb or were actually that clueless. The soundproofing in this lounge was terrible. I could hear every word they said. I rubbed my sleepy eyes and pushed the door open. Do you want to maybe speak a little louder? Julian's coworkers saw me and scurried away, but Julian stood his ground in front of me. It looked like he was ready for a fight. Mr. Vance, I know you're looking for Clara. She's not in the office right now. I leaned back in my chair. That's fine. I'll wait for her here. Mr. Vance, I know this is out of line, but you and Clara are not a good match. Two people with no feelings for each other getting married will only be torture for both of you. Julian bit his lip, speaking with righteous indignation. He looked like a knight defending justice, a hero righting wrongs. I smiled. First, if you think what you're about to say is out of line, then don't say it. Second, what goes on between her and me is none of your damn business. And third, Clara and I grew up together. Who's going to believe you when you say there are no feelings between us? Julian's fists clenched tighter. What will it take for you to leave Clara alone? As he said it, he suddenly raised his hand and slapped himself hard across the face. Twice. A twisted smile spread across his face. Like this? The next second, he staggered out the door, knocking over the hot soup I had brought. My entire morning's effort wasted. As he ran, his eyes were red and his shoulders were shaking, drawing a crowd of employees. I followed him calmly. This kind of stunt was just pathetic. They were all taking Julian's side. I ignored them, walked forward, and without hesitation slapped Julian twice. You said I hit you, right? This makes it official. Julian, what's the point of causing a scene at the office? You should call your parents or whoever the most powerful person you know is and have them back you up. Even if you come from a powerful family, you still have to be reasonable. Sorry, I was spoiled rotten growing up. I don't know the meaning of reasonable, but I do know that with one phone call, I can make you and your entire family disappear from this city. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, "Ms. Hayes, you're back!" To be honest, for a moment there, I was a little panicked. So many people were on Julian's side. I hate being framed, and I hate being alone. The threats I made were just bluster. Ultimately, it was all to save face. I still wasn't sure how important Julian's family was to Clara's company. Or maybe, after all the time he'd spent at the company, Julian was more important to Clara than I was, someone she hadn't seen in years. I admit I wasn't as confident as I let on. The moment Clara appeared, my bravado started to crumble. She walked right up to me with her long strides. Meeting her gaze, I felt an unexplainable guilt. I said weakly, "Why are you back so soon? They said you wouldn't be back until this afternoon." Clara's gaze shifted from Julian's face back to me. "They told me you were here looking for me." I was at a loss for words, and just managed an, "Oh." Clara frowned at my slightly reddened palm. "Does your hand hurt?" I shook my head. "It's fine." Clara stared at my hand for a few seconds, her brow furrowed as if she were in more pain than I was. She looked at Julian without a trace of emotion. "You don't need to come in starting tomorrow." Julian clutched his cheek, his eyes red. "Clara, why? You saw what happened." Before he could finish, Clara took my hand. "Let me take you home." Sitting in her passenger seat, I asked her, "You didn't even get the full story. You just assumed he framed me?" "I know you." "What if I really did hit him?" "Then he must have done something to make you angry. He deserved it." "You just fired him like that. Won't the rest of the company think you're being unfair?" Clara explained patiently, "I've been looking for a reason to fire him for a while, but he's an alum from my university and the son of a business partner, so I couldn't find a good reason. But now I have one. So thank you." "Clara, you idiot. I cause all this trouble for you, and you think I'm helping." After that incident, it felt like Clara and I got closer. Because the Hayes family's chef was a better cook, I went over to their house for dinner every few days, sometimes bringing leftovers to the office for Clara. After the Julian incident, the whole company's attitude toward me did a complete 180. I don't know when it started, but I got used to being Clara's fiancé. Sometimes I'd find a spot in the office to draw for a while, and then wait for Clara to get off work, so we could go home together. If I was out with Finn and the guys, Clara would come pick me up when it got late. The day we made it official was actually a very ordinary evening. Clara was driving me home, as usual. I said to her, "You don't have to come pick me up every time. I can get home by myself." She said, "I know your parents have always doted on you. They would drop everything to pick you up anytime, anywhere. I will too. I won't let you be alone." I watched the cars speeding by outside the window and said slowly, "Clara, back when I was a senior in high school, I secretly tried to find you once. I slipped a love letter into your locker. But later I got scared it would make things awkward between us, so I lied and said it was for another girl, and I'd put it in the wrong spot. I was worried the letter would make it so we couldn't even be friends. It seemed better to just get by on our childhood friend status. Clara, I have a lot of flaws. I'll probably cause you a ton of trouble. The car stopped in front of my art studio. Stella said, "Leo, I'm in love with you." I don't know how Clara and I ended up kissing. Unlike last time's brief, gentle touch, this kiss was deeper, more forceful. It left me breathless several times. To make me more comfortable, Clara supported my waist with one hand and slowly reclined the seat. A more aggressive kiss swept over me. "Clara, maybe we should go upstairs." Clara was panting. She grabbed my wandering hand, her voice hoarse. "Leo, not here." She forced the words out one by one, her tone laced with restraint. I suddenly laughed out loud. It was the first time I'd ever seen Clara so flustered. Still, she let me go. To be honest, I didn't really want to leave. In college, I had secretly collected some of Clara's professional photos. They were, to put it mildly, stunning. I wondered if they still existed after all this time. I thought to myself, one day I'd have to see for myself. I didn't rush back to the studio. My heart was pounding, and I couldn't calm down, so I wandered around outside for a long time. I even had to tell a passing dog that I was in a relationship now. When I'd wandered enough, I went back to the studio, pushed the door open, and saw my parents standing in the living room. Their eyes went straight to my lips. "Leo, why are your lips swollen?" That night, both of us were interrogated by our families for a long time. The next day, they coordinated to release a story to the press. Huge headlines embellished the love story between me and Clara. "I told you there was something between you two," my dad gloated. "A father's intuition is never wrong. Every time you were near Clara, her eyes were glued to you, just like how your mom used to look at me." Of course, there were also my terrible friends. Every single one of them claimed that keeping Clara's crush a secret was the hardest thing they'd ever done. On our engagement day, they even printed out a bunch of flyers detailing all the times Clara had shown her secret love for me and posted them all over the venue. It made me want to laugh, cry, and get angry all at once. Later, in Clara's room, I found a lot of things related to me, like a high school ID photo of mine that I had lost somewhere. A picture of me accepting an award when I won a painting competition. A matching version of the little raccoon keychain I always used to have on my backpack in high school. I hugged Clara and asked her, "If my dad hadn't agreed to the engagement, were you really planning on wasting your whole life waiting for me?" She hugged me back and gently stroked my hair. "It's not about wasting time. Love and marriage are not necessities. For me, whether or not I get married isn't important. What's important is you. I'm not in a hurry. I can wait." Everyone loves differently. When love arrives, some people may seem calm on the surface, but inside, a storm is raging. She wasn't good with words. She didn't know how to express herself. But she knew how to love you better than anyone. I've learned that love isn't about all the noise and drama on the surface. It's about loving someone in the quiet places.